Around 6 in the evening, my mom came home with 2 of my cousins. It was strange because they never visited us, and they arrived with several large suitcases. Mom didn't stay long, she exchanged a few quiet words with them and left, leaving me in confusion. The next morning, Mina, my younger cousin who was in the same grade as me, 7th grade, got dressed and left for school. Her family was wealthy, so she attended a more prestigious school than mine. That day, when I returned home from my own school, I was told the news: my aunt had passed away. I was stunned. I hadn't even known she was in the hospital, and now her children were here to stay with us. When my cousins returned that evening, the news shattered them. They broke down in tears, and seeing their pain was heart-wrenching. My mom comforted them as best she could, and a heavy silence settled over the house. The weeks passed quickly, and soon, the day of my aunt's funeral arrived. Now, with 2 extra mouths to feed, things became tighter at home. Mom was determined to make it work, but it was clear how much harder she had to push. She couldn't afford Mina's tuition at her previous school, so Mina transferred to my school, which was a huge adjustment for her. Mina struggled to adapt to the new environment, different teachers, fewer resources, and the fact that everything was different from the life she had known before. But gradually, we found a new rhythm, supporting each other through the hard days as we adjusted to this new life together. In JHS 3, 8th grade, our main focus should have been preparing for our final exams, but life had other plans. One Friday afternoon during games period, our class was relaxed and in high spirits, chatting and laughing in small groups. Suddenly, a loud slap broke through the chatter, and we all turned to see what was happening. To our surprise, it was Grace and Esther, 2 best friends known for their fierce loyalty to each other, in the middle of a heated fight. For context, Grace and Esther had been inseparable since class 6, 6th grade. Their personalities were polar opposites yet complementary. Grace was the more rational one, calm but known for her sharp tongue. Esther, on the other hand, was fiery, often getting into confrontations with classmates and even teachers. They were almost like sisters, doing everything together: eating, studying, walking home. They had each other's backs through thick and thin. So, you can imagine the shock on our faces when we saw Grace slap Esther. Esther's voice filled the room, her face twisted in anger. "How could you sleep with my boyfriend? You're worthless and have no real purpose in life." Grace's expression shifted from sadness to shock, and then to something darker. She fired back, "Oh really? Well, at least my dad isn't bedridden like yours." The entire class went silent, stunned by how quickly things had escalated. Everyone knew Esther's father had been seriously ill, and it was a low blow. Esther looked shaken but quickly regained her composure. Grace, seizing the opportunity, added, "And since we're being honest, how about we talk about the 3 pregnancies you've terminated? Or how you slept with a man old enough to be your grandfather?" The class exploded in chaos. Some students gasped in shock, while others exchanged excited whispers, feeding off the drama. But before it could go any further, a teacher walked in, noticing the commotion. We all fell silent, and Esther stormed out as soon as the teacher's attention shifted. I couldn't shake the feeling that Esther needed someone, so I quietly followed her to the restroom, where I heard her sobbing softly from one of the stalls. It was clear that Grace's words had hit a nerve. Over the next few weeks, the tension between Grace and Esther remained thick and unbreakable. They no longer shared meals or even glanced at each other in the hallways. Their once solid friendship was over, just like that. The entire class felt the shift, a painful reminder of how easily words can destroy what took years to build. As I sat in class, doing my best to focus on the lesson, I couldn't shake the eerie feeling that someone was watching me. Even during break times, I felt that same intense gaze, yet whenever I turned, there was no one there. One day, though, I turned suddenly, and locked eyes with Isaac. His face immediately filled with shock and embarrassment before he quickly looked away. Isaac and I had been close back in class 4, 4th grade, but things changed around class 6, 6th grade, when he entered his bad boy phase and I dove into my obsession with Korean dramas. Isaac was smart, a top student with average looks but brimming with confidence. He had this cocky, self-assured air and a fake American accent that, surprisingly, made a lot of girls swoon. But I wasn't one of them. I knew he wasn't a Korean actor or idol, and his whole act just didn't impress me. In fact, my indifference seemed to get under his skin. One day during math, Isaac took a seat beside me. After a moment, he asked why I had distanced myself from him, mentioning that we used to be close. I simply shrugged and said, "It's nothing," but inside, I was dying to say, "Honestly, you just make me cringe with that accent and overconfident attitude." But I kept that to myself, and that turned out to be our last conversation until the end of JHS 3, 9th grade. Eventually, our final exam results, BIS, came out, and I learned I'd been accepted to my high school. On my last day at home before heading off to boarding school, I took one last look around my room, memories flooding back, the good times, the hard times, and all the in-between moments. With a bittersweet smile, I closed the door behind me and prepared for the next chapter.